Hey guys, so in this video we will have quite a lot of work to do, and that is just because I have realized that if we want to have a different damage types and different effects on the arrows, we will have to rework our take damage and apply damage functions and instead make a custom one. And the reason for that is that at the moment when the arrow hits the enemy, only at that time it will take the stats from the player and apply that damage. But what can happen is, let's say the arrow was fired quite high in the air and it's flying, and during that time you can switch your weapons. Then when the arrow actually hits, it will take the improved stats or different stats from different weapon. And you can, like this way, you can exploit the game by increasing your critical hit chance by equipping two different weapons with higher critical chance, and then it hits for that damage. So the reason why we need to create the custom damage function, because we want to actually save the stats that we had when we actually fired the arrow, and we can't do that with the built-in function. And let me just show you an example of what I mean, because at the moment I just equipped the bow and we don't have currently we don't have any damage coming from the arrow, only from the bow. So as you can see, I do have physical damage on this one, 18, so it's showing me 18. And then I'm going to add this Blade of Sorrow in my quick slots, and then what happens is I'll go a little bit further away so I have time. I fire the arrow and then I immediately switch for the damage. So let me show you just arrow straight away like this, which is 18 damage. But then when I fire it and switch the weapon, you can see I'm applying fire damage and regular damage because I have switched to this Blade of Sorrow, and then when the arrow hit, it's applying this damage. So we don't want that, and that's why we have to change few things. And I have now noticed as well that if I fire the arrow and change the weapons, it doesn't cancel the right mouse button events, so it will stay with the crosshair. So let's fix that first. That would probably be when we're changing weapons. Find this change weapons functions. So we're calling it when we basically we're calling the quick slot or something. What we can do here is let's first stop any montage, because we do have a check when we cancel RMB that if we are firing arrow, we're not able, if you're doing this, firing arrow, we're not able to cancel right mouse button until the arrow was fired, only then it is cancelled. So if we switch the weapon in that time, it won't let us cancel the right mouse button. So we need to stop any montage, which will stop that one for firing arrow, and then it will cancel RMB. One of these, I think both of them does the same thing. So cancel RMB, and that way we should be able to actually go out of zoom. Let me try again. So set this as a quick slot, fire arrow and immediately switch. There we go, I cancelled it and switch for different weapon. Probably same issue we would have with the blocking state. So if we are blocking and then switch the weapon, it would stay slow down. But now, as you can see, I can work and I can even go back to blocking if I keep holding the right mouse button. So that's another issue that I didn't know we had fixed. And now what I want to do is, first we're going to set up that we can apply damage from the arrow, and after that we will fix the whole damage function and stuff. So to apply damage from the arrows, first let's go to our items, structs and deities, and we can also at the same time do the effects for the arrow. So we will add effects and a damage. So for effects, let's go to item info struct, and we're going to add new variable, and this one will be effect that we will have on the arrow. We can later on add it on the weapon as well. For now it will only work for arrows. And effects is not stored in enumerator, but it is stored as a data table row handle. I'm not sure why I originally set it up differently. I thought this is going to be easier because we don't have to create new enumerator, but it's kind of turning out to be a little bit of a miss, because I think I like it better with the enumerator. Even though what we can just do is in the default values, go to these effects and set it to effects data table, and that way we can just select directly the effect. Don't do it here on the default value, just leave it at none. Save it, and now let's go to items data table, and here I have glowing arrow, so I can set the effect. I'll just probably rework it to like a lightning arrow or something and change the color to blue, and then I do have a stun effect because I don't have anything with the lightning, so I'll add it as a stun effect. And then to damage, let's go to base stats, add one, and I'll add lightning damage, and I'll add it to max stat, and this will be 10, so it will have 10 extra lightning damage on top of the bow damage. And then iron arrow, I think I had already, yeah, physical damage, max stat was 5, so this one will be physical damage, and I won't add any effects on the regular arrow. If you like, you can make a burning arrow and add burning and stuff, so this is just for testing for now. And then let's go to player. We need to open two functions, which are the ones that we have made in a previous video. So I'm not sure if I have it here somewhere. Let's just open it again. I'll close all the tabs here, leave just the combat open, and one of them is update quiver count, and other one is get current arrow, which really, let's rename it to set current arrow, because we are actually setting the new arrow in this function. So here in this set current arrow, what we need to do is, so here when we actually setting the new arrow, the class was not valid, it's going to false, and we're checking if we have any arrows in a quiver, and if we do, we are setting new current equipped arrow. And after that, let's just move it all down. We'll need a little bit more space, like this. And then here, after we have set it, we're going to change stats. So we will have to do it here instead of just when we like equip items to the slots and stuff. And here we're going to add stats because we are setting the new equipped arrow. And this equipped arrow will be the item info. So it will take the stats of the arrow. And after, what we need to do is also add effects. So just search for add effect or learn effect, add effect. Add effect from conditions component. And the effect will be from the arrow. We have it here. So just connect it. And this will add effect, so we will be able to cause lightning damage and stun with the lightning arrow. And then here on false, so the class is valid, we do have this arrow equipped, it's going here, but it doesn't find it on false because we have just probably shot the last one and we removed it from this array. So when it goes to false, we need to remove those stats. So again, we're going to do change stats from stats component. This time leave it false. Here it's true. Here it's false. It's the same thing, so it's the current equipped arrow that we are removing. And then we're going to remove the effect. So again, let's just search for remove effect from conditions component, and the effect, we need to break it open here. And I'll hide unconnected pins and just select the effect and add it here. So we're adding it, we're removing it. We don't really need to do it anywhere else because this function just handles it every time we're like running out of arrows and stuff, or adding new ones and everything. So it always goes through here. One more place in this update quiver count. Here I did it a little bit wrong. I mean, it's working fine, but then we can improve it by not setting arrows here at any point, but we're just going to use this set current arrow function instead. So remove this part, even this brush, and we're going to set current arrow. It won't just continue here because that will be just for this branch, but what we need to do here, we need to check if we do have a bow equipped, because we don't want to be adding stats from the arrow if we don't have the bow in hand. So just so we can continue on a true branch here before it was on the false, we're going to do not boolean. So this one, if it's not valid, then it will return true and we can go to true, but we will also do end boolean And this time we're going to check if current combat type equals bow. And that one doesn't need to be not boolean, because we need to have it equipped, and then it will go to set current arrow. So this is only change that we need to make here. And then one more thing is when we actually unequip the bow, then we also need to remove the stats, because it won't do it for us. So we were changing that play unequip weapon montage macro. So open it up. And when we unequip it, here we're going to have to do one more branch, because we need to check if the current arrow is active, is valid. So let's find the current arrow. Where are you? Current equipped arrow. Get it, break it open, and from the class we're going to do isValid class. And if it is valid class, we'll connect it here, and that will go to true. Move this. And if it's true, we're going to again change stats, because the arrow was valid, so that means we have one equipped. And not change weapon, sorry, change stats from stats component, and this time we're removing them, so leave it false. Current equipped arrow is the item info, and then remove effect. Remove effect from conditions component, and effect, we have it open here, so I'll just do hide unconnected pins and select the effect as well, and then connect it. And then don't forget to connect it back to play montage, otherwise it would fail here and we wouldn't be able to unequip weapon. And same from this false, it needs to go to play montage. I'll just move it here. Alright, so play unequip. We don't need to do anything on the equip, because if we equipping thing in that macro play equip, you can see we are already setting the current arrow, which handles all the rest. So now we should be able to actually shoot arrows and apply that damage. But let me reload the items, because I have changed something in a data table, and it's very important that we reload it. So instead of just reloading every single arrow, I'm going to reopen my map, go into maps, and just open it, save selected, and that will basically reload everything. Now I can pick up these glowing arrows, I can pick up my iron arrows, which can't really be seen very well on this floor. This is the same color kind of, but now I do have a lightning arrows, as you can see. And if I shoot, there we go, I'm applying stun, because my stun is 100% I think still. And I'm also applying lightning damage, which can crit. And now I shoot the last one. And now watch what will happen. So now I will shoot the last one, but it will immediately switch to iron arrows, which will remove the lightning effect, even though I'm shooting lightning arrow. So see what happens. I just shot for physical damage, even though I did have a lightning arrow, so it didn't add any lightning damage, because I just changed my stats after I fired the arrow, and only applied those stats when it hit, which were already changed. And this is what we're going to change in the second part of this video. So we're going to create a custom apply damage or take damage functions, so we can actually pass the current stats that we have when we fire the arrow, or later on in a projectile. It can be for spells as well. So you fire like a slow moving fireball, you want to save the stats that you had when you fired it, not after you change your stats. So we need to do it in a combat component. So main changes will be here. And so combat component does have this apply damage, which goes to apply point damage, and this is the built-in function. We don't really need it. Instead, we're going to use our take damage function and do it directly from the hit actor. So from hit actor, we can just get the component by class, which we have here, and from there, you can just go to take damage. And then basically what we're doing in the player and in the enemy, in the combat, let me just show you. We're doing this event point damage, which is the other side of, this is the receiving end, which we get, what we get from when we connect apply point damage. And then we take in the damage. So we don't need to do this at all. We can remove this. So that will be quite simplified. Except for it doesn't let me, oh, my delete doesn't work. I don't know what's happening. Is it my keyboard? It doesn't let me delete. I don't know what's wrong. So let me just first set this up. We're going to do take damage and just let's connect everything that we need to there. So we already have the target, which is the hit actor, and then damage will be this damage. So hold control and connect it. Damage type, we don't actually need to do now the whole damage type thing, because since we do have a custom function, we can just pass the stat of the damage type that we have. So it can be fire damage, lightning damage, and so on. So on this function, change the damage type to stats enumerator, and I will change it over. And now we can pass on this array element stat, which is all the damage types, and add it here. And this way we don't need this whole thing, and we don't even need our damage types. You can actually delete them. And hit from the direction is hit location, what we had before, so connect it. Damage causer is self. Oh, self, no, it's owner, sorry. So get owner, because this is in the combat component, so we need to get player or the enemy as a damage causer. And hit info, we do have hit info, hit result from apply damage. So we'll add it. And now what we want to do, we want to add a couple more things. So this one we can delete. Now we're going directly to take damage. And we can just, on this apply damage, we can create new variable. And this one will be current stats. And it will be stats enumerator, so we can leave it, but we're going to change it to map array, and it will be stats, and this one stat type, which is all that stuff, max stat, current stat, so we can pass it. And we also want to do effects, so search for effects or type in effects, and then this one will be single for now, and it needs to be data table row handle. But since we can have multiple effects active, we're going to make it an array. And then after we have done this, we have also need to take it, we also need to apply it to the damage. So we need to create a couple more here, which will be same thing. First, this one we can leave, so effect, we don't have to change it. And then we're going to create one more, and this one will be current stats. And again, we need to do stats enumerator, change it to map, and second one is stat type already. So current stats, and then just connect it, current stats to current stats, effects to effects. We can even flip it around so it doesn't cross. All right, and here we're not going to be getting stats from the component, from the owner, because we do have a current stats here. So what we're going to do instead is do find, and here we need to find this stat, and we need to break it open, and where we got the max stat connected from stats component, we're just getting it from here and connect it to this one, multiply. Now remove this, and this should be all good. Damage causer we have connected, owner, you know, let's do damage causer directly. I think it should be owner in all cases, but you never know. Now we can fix this apply damage function. We are using it in two different places. One is in when we're doing the line trace here in the combat component, and another one is in the base arrow. So first let's go to event graph and find your line trace, and here we got apply damage with the current stats and effects. Since here we are hitting directly, like there is no space in between, like firing arrow or something, because we're hitting with the weapon. We can just get, from the owner, we can get component by class. Single component, and this will be stats component, and we will get stats as the whole map array and connect it here. And then also we need to copy this component by class, do second one, and this time from the owner we will need to get conditions component, and from there we can get effects that we have currently and connect it. Now let's go to the base arrow, and in here we do have apply damage in the end as well. By the way, I just realized there will be one more error that we will have. This won't prevent all of the errors, because if you were shooting like really close to the enemy, and this one here on component begin overlap, it would actually overlap with the enemy, but then this line trace that we're doing straight after wouldn't hit any component. Then what we're doing is applying damage after, which would pass this check because it was actually an enemy. But here when we're applying the damage, we're applying hit result from this line trace component, and that won't be valid, so it will give us error. And that only happens sometimes when you're shooting like really close to the enemy and you miss him. But what we can do to prevent it is here, from the hit actor enemy, we're going to do end boolean, and we're going to check this return value and just connect it. So if you actually hit something, and that will need to go here to the branch, and we need to do the same thing here. After we go to false, when we check in the breakables, we need to do the same thing basically, because it can happen with the breakable objects as well if you just slightly miss it. So return value connected to the second one, and this one go here and then to branch. So that will prevent that issue. And okay, we do have errors with apply damage, and that is just because we do have this current stats map, and that will give us error when we don't connect anything. So for current stats here in the arrow, we need to first pass it from the event when we shoot arrow. So let's go to the interface, so blueprint interfaces, and that is in combat BPI, find shoot arrows. By the way, we need to add this to the combat, and this one as well. So combat category, and then here in this shoot arrow, we're going to pass current stats, and also what will be the second one, effects. So current stats, the same thing that we did before, it's stats enumerator, make it into map array, and second one it's stats, stat type, not stats, stat type s stacked, and then effects will be again data table row, handle, and make it into array. Compile and save. And now in a player, okay, now this one's giving me error. Now I can delete it. Okay, so remove it from the player, the whole take damage stuff. And now let's go to fire arrow, and here it's already giving us error. So here in the beginning, all we have to do is just get stats component, get stats, so all of the stats that we have, and we're going to promote it to local variable. Since this is a function, we don't need the actual variable, and this one can be local. Checked it, so rename it to local current stats. And we also need effects, so that will be in conditions component, get effects, and promote it to local variable, which will be, we can just call it local effects, local effects. So now basically when we fire arrow straight away, we're saving all the stats that we have on that arrow. Make sure you do it before remove arrow, because what remove arrow does, it eventually goes to that set arrow, set current arrow, and it will remove the stats, because if we show the last one, this will basically remove it, so the stats will be already changed. So do it before, and then here we will pass it. So local current stats go to current stats, and local effects go to effects. Now compile and save, we shouldn't have any error. And now back in the base arrow, we do have these two things. You can connect it directly. I don't want to have a noodle, so I'm just going to promote it to variable this time, and this is current stats, can be the same name. I'm just going to remove the space, and effects going to be effects, and just connect it here. This is not a function, so obviously we can't make a local variable, but it doesn't matter, it's on the arrow. And then here we will just connect it, so current stats to apply damage, and effects to apply damage. Now compile and save. Something gives us warning. What? Why? Refresh. Okay, just a silly thing. So I'll just compile it again, and that will remove it. Now we're applying damage, so we're passing this stats, we're breaking it open, checking all the damage types we have and stuff, and also the effects. Now in the take damage, so double click to open it up, we have to change a few things, because a lot of these things are counting on the player current stats. So it gets the owner and gets the player stats. We need to use these stats that we have here. So going by it one by one, we do have this calculate critical hit chance, which needs the stats. So in take damage, we're going to select this calculate critical hit chance. I just realized it's an event, so double click on it, open this event, and here we're going to add stats. That was the last one we created, so it's already stats E and stat type. Oh, current stats. And then from there, instead of doing this, getting the stats component, we need to find again. Here we're getting critical hit damage, so find critical hit damage. And also copy it again and find here, second one is critical hit chance. And damage goes to this part, but we need to break it open and connect the max stat. And we can remove this, and critical hit chance again, break it open, and we're checking if the max stat is greater or equals this one, then it's a crit. Compile and save. So that's first function. Don't worry about the errors for now, we're going to do it one by one. So back in take damage, we now connect this current stats. We can get it as variable, this is a function, so get current stats and connect it. That will get rid of the first error. Calculate crit chance, we also no, we actually don't need anything here. Calculate damage reduction does have a damage type, and then we need to get like a actual stat from the damage type. We don't need to do that now anymore. We can instead just change this damage type to stats enumerator, because we have it as an actual stat already. Delete this part, connect it here, connect this to actual stat, and then we're getting the max stat. We just need to do this stat here. Wait, where is that coming from? Get owner, get component by class, get stats component. Get max stat. No, here we actually need to get the stat as well, because we, as you can see, we're getting the max stat of whatever this is, poison damage, cold damage and stuff. So again, we will need the stats that we currently have. Otherwise, what can happen is we could improve the stats while the arrow is flying, and then we would have a higher damage reduction, or enemy, or something can happen basically. So here we will add input as well, and this one will be again current stats, which will be stats enumerator, make it into map array, and this one will be stat type S. And from there we can find, we need to connect this part here, and then break it open, and we're just replacing these two. So hold control and do this from the max stat, and now we can remove all of this. So that's our damage reduction. Everything else is probably fine. Compile and save. Go back to take damage. Now we need to connect the current stat as well. From the current stat, damage causer, this is all good. Damage type, we don't need this. We need this damage type, so get it again, get damage type as a variable. Not this one, but this one on the bottom. Connect it. And then one more place will be where we're actually calculating the effects, and that is in display hit event, because we only wanted to do it once, so it's in the event. So open it up, and what we will need the effects, play hit event, and maybe stats. Do we need stats anywhere? Component by class conditions and calculate effects. No, we only need events. So in display hit events, effects. We only need effects, and this one will be, we can do array and data table row handle. So array of those, and these effects will go directly here to these effects and remove this part. So all in all, we should have done this in the beginning, because it's much better to actually have a custom function. You can customize it as you want, and also it's much simpler. So once you actually set it up, I think it will generally work a little bit better. So this will calculate the effects, and we just need to connect the effects in the take damage as well. So we can get it as variable, get effects, and connect it. All right, and now one more thing we're going to change, and that is in the end, we were in the NPC, we were showing the damage indicator. So go to base NPC, sorry, into enemy, close the base NPC and this combat, and here find where we take damage, so event point damage, and you can see we're doing this whole thing. Instead, we don't have to do this, but we will have to check if the enemy is not dead. So we'll do that inside the combat component. Get this combat component, take damage, remove it, and we will have to spawn damage indicator and start health bar check. For this, we do have an interface function as well. Actually, you can remove all of this. Start health bar check we will have to do on spawn or set damage indicator or something. This one, event set damage indicator. We will call it from the combat component, and we're going to spawn it, and here start health bar check. So it actually shows the health bar if we damage the enemy. And we don't have a critical hit chance set up here, so let's go to combat BPI interface. That's where this function is set up. Did I just close it? Yeah, I closed it. So combat BPI and find set damage indicator. Set damage indicator, and we're going to add is critical hit, because we weren't doing it, because we were using this event only for applying the dot damage over time. So now in the enemy is critical hit, we will connect here, start health bar check. And now the last thing in the combat component is in the end, after we modify current stat, this is all fine. We're going to not do the return node, remove it, and we're just going to do get we need to get gameplay tags first, check if the enemy or player is not dead. So get gameplay tags, not this one, the message, get gameplay tags. I don't have a message, I need to get owner first, and then get gameplay tags, message, which will return gameplay tags, and we will check has tag, dead character checks is dead, exact match. And if it's not dead, let's do not boolean, so we can go from true value. So not boolean, character is not dead. We're going to get owner and set damage indicator. And obviously we don't have to set it up in the player, so it won't do anything, but on the enemy it will actually spawn the damage indicator. And the damage is the local damage. Damage type is stat damage type. We have written it from where? Oh, we had to set it as a variable inside the function. You don't really need to do that. So calculate, where was it? Calculate. It wasn't this one. Calculate damage reduction. Yeah, we don't really need to do that here. This variable can go, and where is it connected in these two things? So this will just be this stat from the input. We'll go to these things. And this variable stat damage type, remove it. Connect the rest of the function to return node. Stat damage type is going to be deleted. Is it still in use? Find references. I think it's only the one that I left there. Yeah. And now we can remove its stat damage type. And here we're going to create the one from the input, which is damage type, because we already have it. So get damage type. I know this might seem like quite a lot of stuff, but trust me, it's going to be much easier moving forward. And critical hit we do have as a variable, which we will set somewhere before if it's a critical hit. Now let's see, what have I done wrong? Take damage, this just needs to be refreshed because we have removed the outputs. It's all here. Compile and save. Yeah, now I think everything should work the same. Condition doesn't like something, which is what? Calculate damage reduction. See, we had to do like construct object and all that stuff. Here we just can set it now manually to fire damage because this is burn. Then I'm guessing the poison. And current stats for damage reduction. So get owner, get component by class, copy this. This will be stats component. And we will get stats and connect it, otherwise it will just give us error, and we actually need to have it for damage reduction. And then second one will be here in the burn. Remove this and do the same thing. So here we'll do fire damage, not the one with the percentage, this one, fire damage, and get component by class, stats component, and connect it to, get stats. Alright, so now, as I said, everything should probably be working the same way as it was before, except for we should be able to actually apply effects with the arrows, and we can swap weapons and stuff. So now let's test it out. I do have 2 iron arrows. I fire one. I fire a second one. It's already adding the damage. It's 23. My bow only has 18, so it's adding the damage from the arrow. And now, before, if I fire this arrow, it would give me lightning damage because that's the next arrow. But as you can see, it was still 23, and now this one has a lightning damage with the effect. As soon as I run out, I can even swap weapons to this one. And I do have a regular damage as I had before, as you can see. So it's switching all correctly. Effects are working fine. Damage seems to be calculated fine. Character is not dead. Now just realized one more thing. I'm not sure if we set up get gameplay tags on the enemy. If it actually won't let me hit him. But I ran out of arrows, so I can't really tell. Let me just quickly check it. On the enemy, we do have get gameplay tags. Yeah, okay, it is connected, so that's fine. So yeah, this is pretty much it. So now we can shoot different type of arrows. All the projectiles will be fixed from now on. Everything seems to be working much better. You can also like cancel switch weapons, and it's now canceling the right mouse button events. So I think I'm pretty happy with this work. We have improved quite a lot, and we can move forward and actually do the function that I wanted to do in this video, which was switching between different types of arrows when we press some button. So I'll see you in the next one then. Bye!